will start with a poem which is written by Robert Frost. Fine. And the name of the poem is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Fine. I think most of you all are well acquainted with this poem, right? Most of you have also read about this poem in your primary sections or maybe in class 6 or 7, right? So we'll read about this poem today and try to understand it. Okay, so before going to the poem, let's first know about the poet, which is Robert Frost. Fine. So Robert Frost, he wrote the Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening in 1922. All right, and he is a beloved American poet, and he liked to write about nature and the England landscape. Fine, but um, though it is not written here in this PPT, fine, I like to tell you something about Robert Frost poems. So he was basically alone throughout his life, all right, and therefore he preferred nature to be his best friend, and he wrote about nature as well as about loneliness also. And this poem, The Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, this is all about loneliness. Fine. So he was born in San Francisco, that is the land of Sarda. And so first let us know little bit briefly about it. Okay. So in the poem, the speaker, he is in the woods, right? And who is the speaker? The poet, right? And he is just trespassing. Trespassing means he's just passing by, passing through the woods. Those woods are not his, right? Those woods are someone else's, but he's just passing through the woods. And he wonders who owns those woods, who might have owned that woods. It was a last very large forest area, and he wanted to know who is the owner of the woods, right? And in the same breath, he also tells us that he thinks that he knows who owns them. And the lucky landowner, he lives in a house in the village, right? And he is going to that landowner's house who lives in the village. So the speaker, that is the poet, he won't get into trouble just for trespassing, because there is no one to catch him trespassing. So since it is a forest area, and that forest, it is of no one's, means that forest doesn't belong to anyone. So no one can catch him because he is passing through that area, and because he is all alone. Fine. I think till here it's clear, right? So next he tells us that he has a horse with him. Now you can see that he is not all alone, not very alone. No doubt there are no human beings with him, but he has a horse, right? And that horse is very little, very small horse. And the speaker, he psychoanalyzes his horse, means he reads the mind of the horse, right? And he thought that the little horse must think it very strange, right? Very strange for them to stop in that middle of the forest, where no person is in sight, and not even a farmhouse is also very close by, right? And there is also no sign of any hay. So the horse, he will obviously feel very strange, as there is no one else in the forest, and no hay also for food, right? And the speaker and his little horse, they are just chilling means they're just frozen. They're just feeling very cold between the woods and the frozen lake. So they are in between the woods and the frozen lake, and they are feeling very cold, right? So the place is not very safe for ice skating also, all right? And therefore the poet has not stopped here for ice skating also. That we readers cannot say, right, that he has stopped there for some other reasons, for maybe enjoying himself, for ice skating and all. Why? Because it is the darkest evening of the year. since it is the darkest evening of the year, so there is no scope for ice skating also. And the little horse is just starting to really lose it. Means he has lost his mind. Has no doubt why his master is stopping there in between the woods, right? And fortunately, the harness he had the harness bells on his back, and he just give the harness bells a shake. Why? He wanted to draw the master's attention and ask him why they are waiting there for nothing. It's like the waiting for Godot, waiting for nothing. I think you all have heard about waiting for Godot. It is a novel where a person he waits for nothing. You will come to know if you study English literature later on. He waits for nothing for many days, right? And that is waiting for Godot. So the only other sounds that are available in that forest is about the wind and the falling snow, and it is very quiet there. Okay, so this is basically the summary. All right, now we'll go stanza wise. All right, so the first stanza, the narrator is traveling through the woods and wondering who owns those woods, and he knows the person, and his house isn't anywhere nearby, but it is in the village, right? And he is deciding to stop there for a while. Why? Because he is struck by the beauty of the falling snow and the way it is filling up the woods, right? And the owner, he lives somewhere else so that he cannot see the owner stopping in his woods. All right. Next we come to stanza 2. He is now contemplating, or he is now just trying to understand what his horse might be thinking. So his horse is very much thinking very strange, maybe, or very weird, because the owner is standing in the middle of the woods, because they must be always stopping in some farmhouse. So normally when a person goes with a horse to some distant place, they when they have to stop, they stops by a farmhouse, right? Just to feed the horse or to take rest. But where they stopped, that was in the middle of the forest, right, in the middle of the woods, and there was no farmhouse. And the horse was also thinking, he was also in a weird condition as to why they are stopping there for nothing. And it was very cool since it was winter, and it was the darkest evening of the year, right? So during our winter seasons also, we have the sun, it sets very soon, right? And we get the darkness comes very soon. So here also it's winter, and it is the darkest evening of the year, and they have stopped in wilderness, which is between the woods and the frozen lake. All right, so there is nothing but the woods on one side and the frozen lake on the other side. Now we know why the narrator thought of his horse, because the horse has now shaken its harness bell, right? And he must be thinking whether he has some he has made some mistake, or there is some danger in front of him. So he gives his bells a shake to ask his master if there is some mistake, right? And the bell, it is the only sound in such a stillness apart from the sound of the easy wind and the softly falling snowflakes. There was no other sound, only the sound of the snow and the wind. Fine. Next we come to stanza 4. The narrator, he is commenting upon the beauty which he is witnessing with his eyes, and he is almost refreshing himself in nature, but the world to which a human belongs, it beckons him again. He is reminded of those promises which he has made to the people, to the maybe person in a village, and he must take leave from his beauty of nature and also the pleasure which comes from it. And it becomes a universal statement about the human life which cannot halt for beauty alone. right? And our living it comes in responsibilities. So he has much responsibilities and he is ready to go, right? And though he was having a very good time with the nature, right, but he had some work to do and many responsibilities which he has to complete before he dies. All right, so this is all about the poem, and next we come to the conclusion. Okay, so the narrator here, he ends the poem with the last two lines. So what is the two line which has a deep meaning? And that two lines, it has a deep meaning. Okay. So the narrator, he says that he has miles to go before he sleeps. And this sleep, it means death. Means before dying, he has many work to do. This miles to go means he has many work to do. Fine. And there is a long time before his endless sleep. And in this long time, he has many work and many responsibilities. Fine. Sorry, it must be much work and responsibilities.